Okay.
Really, the secret conversation is over as always.
The Twitter was down, so I assume it's up now.
I believe it is. I believe so. I slept through the outage. It didn't even bother me. I was like, oh, it didn't even. I got up and they were like,
Oh
oh, it
yeah,
was down,
I
then it
could.
was up. I didn't. I was like, oh, I didn't even have time to get upset. I wouldn't even gotten upset. I didn't even have time to like go see that it was down. So that's the perfect
Yes,
kind of outage.
yes, that was good. I think I read in The Verge it was only for 40 minutes. The
Yeah.
Verge.
Which really feels good though. Like a 40, I mean, maybe that's a feature. Like everybody, just an arbitrary 40-minute break a day where everyone's just like closing the stock market. It's just like, okay, everyone go to lunch. Nothing will be written on Twitter for 40 minutes.
Yeah,
You can do your own thing.
I enjoyed it. All right, well, I tweeted that,
All right,
as
hold
they
on. Let
used
me
to
put
say.
it in the Slack here. Let me tell the people we're live.
Eating a
Using my
sandwich.
my handy dandy
Notebook.
no clipboard manager where I have a pre-built message.
Oh.
It's perfect. Add here. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
I love clipboard managers. I'm just such a simple yet powerful tool. All
You
right.
got to have that fill out an analyst spreadsheet.
Oh, yes. That would be, if only. If only. I do have some pre-candy. Do you have a lot of canned emails written for like responding to
No,
things?
no.
I have that
I've
too.
only recently started using, like, I use the Outlook email client, which I use for those people who are like, whatever. I use it because I used it when it was a Prinda,
Okay.
made by Javier Saltera and friends, and then it became
Yeah.
Outlook, and I think it's fine. It's a good email client. It's great. It allows me to send a note when I cancel a meeting, check availability. It's good stuff. I can also send an email. Anyways, I
Javier,
only
he retired too. Or no, I don't know. He didn't retire. I guess he left his new
I think
job at
so.
Google, right? Isn't that
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
was? It's not
If
his
only
new
we could
job. It's old
If
job.
only we could all be so ambitious. That would be nice, or not. Maybe it'd be terrible for me.
I always
But
think of him. He's gone on to do so many other things, but I always think like, oh, he founded Hyperic,
yeah,
which
yeah.
I think is like not. I don't think he would. I don't know. Maybe he would. Maybe consider that like a top accomplishment. But I'm like, that's how I know him. I'm always like, oh,
I wonder
that's
if I bet I could find, now that I work at VMware. I bet I could find like the source code. That'd be
yeah.
fun
Like what?
to go
Like it would be
figure
interesting.
out.
Like which product in VMware did does it kind of like exist in some format? Like eventually it always gets merged, right? Is it like is there some like small component of the VMware machine that's just like, oh, that's where Hyperic, that's where
I
the
bet I
little
bet
remnants are.
there's like some dependency for some Spring batch job YAML processor that hooks to some Hyperic code. That means it depends on something else, and next thing you know, you have the whole Hyperic systems management suite just included in your Spring application somewhere. That would be.
vRealize Hyperic VMware docs. There you go. It
Oh,
does.
it went into vRealize. Very
Yeah.
nice.
So
Yeah.
I mean, if for all those playing along at home, if you had that on your bingo card, congratulations. Oh,
I
actually,
did not realize that.
well played, sir. Although it looks like it's been it was end of availability. June 1,
Uh,
2020. So there you go. So it's all right.
well,
It's been retired. So that was a good run though. 2020. That's a long run for a product like that. So
it certainly is. Lots of good content in
congratulations,
there.
Javier in crew.
Anyways, I've started using the little, like, sounds great exclamation point. That will work.
Get going.
There's little auto messages for your emails that you can send out. So sometimes it's part of my weird, strange ethics where I always feel like I really need to type these things out rather than just send some autocomplete thing. But really, so many emails that you get just basically, they need the equivalent of just like a thumbs up emoji. Just
Oh
be like,
gosh.
yep,
The thumbs up emoji and the kind of like the instant react on the text message, like it's one of the greatest innovations of the last 10 years. It's like
yeah,
I don't even know when it came. Maybe it's been used before, but just the fact that like that acknowledgement and just I both like getting them and receiving them, or both receiving them and sending them because it's just like it's just the perfect. You're like, yep, got it done. Everybody's happy. It's like
yeah,
yes, email definitely. It's weird, right? Because just a thumbs up emoji sent back an email doesn't have the same kind of, I don't know, if you will, immediate gratification as a thumbs up emoji in text. It's just, I don't know. Someone needs,
yes,
that's what we need people working on is like, what is the equivalent thumbs up? Maybe if you just like almost like right click or hotkey a message that so it just sort of like you don't even have to open and send it, right? It's just sort of like an immediate like got it kind of thing. I don't know.
Oh, just
Someone at
an
Microsoft's
acknowledgement.
working on that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Uh,
maybe you just got to write back like cool. That's probably
that's
what
just
it
too
is.
much, though. I mean, like, I get those emails. I'm like, I don't, it's not the same. The
Huh.
thumbs up emoji is not the same.
Yeah.
All
Fair
right.
enough.
All right, you ready to get rolling? We got 2 ad breaks, so you gotta dust off some of your hosting chops. Gotta like
Uh-huh.
pause twice somewhere.
Yes. Okay.
Other than that, I think that's you go with these topics.
Yeah, I actually did some work ahead of time
And now I
today.
see all your notes in here, so looks like
Mhm.
you're really ahead of the game. So I like it.
Just trying. Always trying
All
to be
right.
a better person. Except when I'm not. But one of the things I'm trying to be better at is trying to be better. So we'll
Fair
see.
enough. All right. I'm ready whenever you are.
Well, I had occasion for a, by European standards, kind of, I would say mid-length European road trip. We went down to Ghent or Ghent or however you want to say it in Belgium there, northern part of Belgium. Very nice town. Very picturesque when you think of sort of, I don't know, low country type of tall buildings and stuff. Good place. But, it occurred to me as we were driving back that you may not see this when you're an American tourist in Europe too much, the highways of Europe, but like they're more or less like the American highways. I think if there is a commonality between on the either side of the Atlantic, it's basically the highway system. Now, I shouldn't say system, but once you get on a highway, it's just like it's the same thing. It's just a straight road that you drive fast on. Now, that said, I mean, it looks the same. You're kind of doing the same thing, and you have this feeling. I don't know if you've had this when you travel, but I still have this idea that like when having been here so long, like when I'm in Europe and you're in a city, you're kind of like, oh, I'm in like the sophisticated walk around multi-use residential shop downtown. I don't need a car and it's hard to drive a car. Like I'm in the sophisticated future that American liberals are always dreaming about. Right. And like I'm living that life that we're trying to shoot for when we build out the simulacrum of the domain and all these things. Right. We got some fancy stores on the bottom and apartments up top, and we got multiple income levels living together, and we're just mixed all together like a tasty jambalaya or paella, I guess, to be more regional. But then you just drive a little bit out of the city, and you're like, oh right, cars rule, and just like the whole tone of that vibe switches over to like, yes, okay, cars are actually the way that things work everywhere, and it's totally cool. Now, that said, I wanted to do some compare and contrasting of some things, and maybe you can help me out with thinking of some things that I might have forgotten about the American highways. But the things that stand out to me as different, and to be fair, here I'm talking about my most recent experience was only the Netherlands and the Belgian highways, but I have been on, let's see, the French, the Spanish, definitely the German, the Swiss, and the Austrian, Luxembourg, and Liechtenstein. I've been on those highways. I don't
All
know
right,
if
so a lot
Luxembourg
of
and
Europe. I
Liechtenstein.
think we could just say that a lot of Europe.
I've also driven on the Italian highways, but
Okay.
I don't know if Liechtenstein and Luxembourg. I mean, they have highways that go
But
through
you're
them,
not
whatever.
giving I always feel like, people talk about the Autobahn in Germany as being so sophisticated and advanced. When
Oh
I've
yeah,
been
yeah,
on it,
yeah.
the road has always seemed nice. It's just cars going fast is that's
Yes,
my
and
entire review of the
yeah,
Autobahn. Really
that's
fast
true. That's
cars.
true. And I also have been on the English, though not Scottish, and both Ireland highways. So I've
Mhm.
been on
What about
those.
the Channel? Did you do the Channel?
No, no, I've never been on
Oh,
that. No,
okay. Well,
no. And
put it on
and
your list.
while I was not driving on the Icelandic holidays, I was driven around a lot on the Icelandic holidays highways. Anyways, so the first thing that I notice, right, is that in like now these are compared to Texas highways, which are their own sort of thing, or I should say Western highways in the U.S. Right, like highways up in New England have a very now I know European feel to them for the following things, which is like in Europe they have not perfected the sort of lifestyle of the exit ramp. Now, exit ramps are like a very like so as is well established. I grew up in Austin in Texas, and to me, an exit ramp is like a very straightforward thing. I don't know how many feet it is, but basically, like I don't know. I mean, what's your feel, Brandon? Every 10 minutes at least. I mean, in unless you're like in West Texas where there's nothing, right? But
Yeah.
like, let's say every 10 or 15 minutes, maybe 30, right? Like every 15 or 20 minutes, you're going to have an exit ramp. Now, an exit ramp is going to be you get off of the highway, and it's always very easy. And then you could drive for maybe like 1 to 3 minutes and get right back onto the highway, right? Like it's very straight. It's almost like if in the podcast land, if you were to imagine a straight line, and then you just kind of like barely pulled out a paperclip, and you put the paper clips on the side of it, kind of like little rounded things on the side. It's very straightforward. And then you might have a bridge that goes over the highway at that point, so that you can cross from either side, and that's it. Now, of course, in up in New England, where they got like the crazy towns, sometimes the exit ramps get nutty, but in general, that's how exit ramps work. Now, in Europe, they're not so hot on that style of things, right? Like they're in particular, and I've done this multiple times, I think 3 to 4 times. There's when you're driving from Munich to the Munich airport, you better not miss the exit, because you're going to be driving for 30 extra minutes just to turn around, right? Which to me is mind blowing, right? Like, maybe it's 25 minutes, whatever. But like there's one exit if you're going from Munich to the airport, and like you miss it, and then I'm repeating myself, but you got to drive even more and then turn around and drive back, which just like that just wouldn't happen.
Now, in
Like,
fairness, as I recall, the Munich airport is like it's kind of far outside the city, so it's
yes,
kind of
yes,
like there's not like that immediate next town. It's like, oh, the airport may actually
totally.
be the last thing for a while, as
That
I
is
think.
that's exactly
Uh-huh.
the case. But like I feel like even driving the 290 way between Austin and Houston, where,
Mhm.
let's be honest, there's a bunch of fucking nothing out there, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
as my
Yeah.
dad would say, BFE, which I will let the listener look up, which is kind of not really a very nice saying nowadays, I guess, but whatever. I would say the middle of nowhere. Anyways,
Okay.
but even like between 290 between Austin and Houston, like you can generally exit whenever you
Mhm.
need to. Like it's pretty well set. So Europe, not big on exit ramps. Now, of course, once you get to an urban center, you get to exit ramps and things like that. But the exit ramp culture is definitely not the same, which takes some getting used to. Now, what they do have in contrast, which is every now and then you see this in the States, but not much. Or I don't know if you actually, I've only seen this in one occasion, which I'll get to. But they have, I guess you could call them like dedicated gas station areas. Like, in the States, we have rest stops, right? And a rest
Mhm.
stop
Of course.
is basically connected to a highway. And it's kind of like you can only get to a rest stop by car on a highway. There's usually not another road that it connects to, right? It's kind of dedicated to the highway. Now, in Europe, there's a lot of gas station complexes that are exactly like that. Like, they are only accessible by highway, and they're just kind of like out there, right? And now also they typically have a restaurant in them, which is nice. But so that is the alternative. Whereas in the States, oftentimes there will, because there are so many exit ramps, there'll be a major exit ramp area, and there will be multiple gas stations available there, just like to come and go at, which I think is was fine. Other notable item, my obsession is, even at a gas station in the middle of nowhere, you often have to pay to use the toilet, which is just mind boggling. Like, I just now what they do is they give you this little, you pay, and they give you this little ticket, which then is a discount coupon for buying stuff in the store, which, I commented on the rarity, I should say, of self-service gas pumps. And I think someone's theory was that, like, you spend less in the store, and this little ticket thing, I think, is further evidence of Europe still has this notion that we need to drive customers into the store to buy things, and that's going to be a source of revenue that we have, which I think is just like, it's just I don't like it. Maybe it makes economic sense, but I think it's just false. But did get the chance to stop at a self service gas station, which was amazing. I enjoyed it a great deal, and then I went inside and bought a Starbucks coffee at the little self service machine, which was pleasant. But I think the only other thing I think worth noting about the European highway system, with one exception, which you brought up, which we'll get to, is that I think you're supposed to actually obey the speed limits, like maybe within like 5, maybe 10 kilometers, but like people don't really even go the maximum speed limits. It's a little odd. Like, and so I'm always a bit confused about how fast I'm
Wait a
supposed to
minute.
be
This,
going.
I mean, this cannot apply to Germany because in Germany, right,
Well,
there
I was
is
gonna
no
say
speed
the
limit. I mean,
okay,
that
I was gonna
people are
say
driving about as fast as I've actually seen cars move
right,
that
right,
are not
right, right, right,
racing
right.
cars has been in Germany.
Now, this is the exception I was going to get to. Now, of course, when you're in Germany on the Autobahn, there are no speed limits. And it takes a little bit of getting used to at first. But then once you realize that the sign that you have to learn in Germany is there's a white sign that's a circle, and then it has three black lines, kind of like a mayor's sash going through it. And what that means is there are no more limits. Like it's crossed out the limits. Whatever they used to be, whatever we told you it was, whether it was 80, 90, or 100, now just you can drive. And yes, people in Germany drive hella fast, which is I mean, it's a little scary at first, but then it's the opposite of I have an obsession with speed humps in neighborhoods. Like, and the reason is because I feel like it's a great example of self-harm, right? And so the Autobahn is the opposite of the following, right? Whenever people get worried about cars driving fast in their neighborhood, they want to put speed humps in. And then what they soon realize is that, like, oh shit, now I have to deal with these multiple times a day, right? And so like the Autobahn's the opposite of that. Like someone was like, oh right, if I'm going to be driving on this all the time, maybe I should be able to drive really fast because eh, it's fine. Although I've talked with Germans about it, and they're always like, "Yeah, that's pretty fucking crazy. I don't know why we do that."
Well, I'll tell you this: the Autobahn still doesn't have a Bucky's, and until that day, I don't. It does. It's not real to me. It's not a real highway. So get on it, Germany. Get yourself a Bucky's. All right, I think it's good. That's good. I don't know. Have you driven a car on the Autobahn yourself?
Yeah, yeah, many times.
And it's like you weren't like extremely nervous.
Mm-mm.
I was like, I don't know, just riding. I just rode on the Autobahn. Someone else was driving, and I was like, I think we're in like everyone has. I don't know. Feels like Mercedes is much more common there than here,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like there was
Mm-hmm.
not like a super, but it was like we're in a Mercedes. We're going like I thought we were going like fast. Like I don't know. I think some Porsche came by and just like I mean just overtook us like without, and it was just gone. It was like just over the
Yeah,
horizon instantly, and I was like, what is, I guess it's all in kilometers per hour there. I was like, I don't know. What are they doing? Like 150, 180 kilometers. And I was like, but it's just like, it was just so normal. And I was like, this, I don't know. I felt a little
yeah, yeah.
tense.
I mean, it's like anything. I think the first day you're kind of like you get used to it, and then you realize like, oh, I mean, it's a simple system. It's just like,
Yeah, I guess you're right. You just be like, if you drove it every day, you just be like, yeah, that's how it is, So
yeah, yeah, and all you have to pay attention to is like you have to see if a car is coming behind you, and then pull over to the right and let them pass, and then that's it.
yeah, I guess, which is pretty much how it is in the United States, right? I mean, get in the right lane, get
Yeah,
out of the way. So, well, if
yeah.
you want to go fast and you want to improve your company, go see our friends at Tricentis. They'll help you do some things along the lines of some tools around cloud migrations. Everyone
Mhm.
needs a little bit of that. So check them out. Good friends over there.
Oh yeah,
And
and it's
until the,
true. I didn't
Mhm.
mention. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
I was gonna say I was reading through the comments. I didn't mention this, but there are a lot of speed cameras. I have gotten several speeding tickets,
Oh, really?
which is a
Does it
bummer.
go like points on your license and stuff, or is it just you have to go pay
I
something?
I've been wondering that, but I
Probably
don't
should look into
know.
that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I've only gotten like two. I
All right.
think I got one in Austria, and then maybe two here. No, no. I think I've maybe only gotten one speed thing, and we've gotten a few parking tickets, which is to be expected. Do you have to pay to park at the hospitals in Austin now?
Depends on the hospital, but the one
Mhm.
downtown, you do. Or there's yeah, yeah. Yep, definitely the one down there on Seaton on was it 35, 30,
Th
35th? Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
that one you definitely do. But the ones that are further out in the suburbs, those are usually just plenty of free parking.
Yeah, the EU should pass a law that, like, if you're, like, a certain distance from a major urban center, you don't have to pay for parking. I think they just need to, like,
Well,
sort
I
that
don't know.
out.
I mean, go to Los Angeles. Like that's the most paid parking I've seen in the United
Ugh,
States. I was just like, oh, this is just. I mean, I felt like I was visiting another country. It was like we're just going to the Whole Foods and we have to pay. Like, what's going on? It's crazy.
that doesn't make sense. That's
So,
crap.
all right, one more ad break. So I am
Alright.
ready whenever you are.
Well, I think we should cover it a little bit just because it's so laughable and everyone likes piling onto laughable things. But it looks like Twitter is not going to be acquired now, Brandon. Our beloved Twitter thing, where we used to talk about, we're gonna go over here to the barbecue joint and I'm eating a sandwich now. Has anyone ever really like looked at their hand? It's grown up into this thing that's like now some central nervous system or whatever. I guess this is the wrong metaphor. You wouldn't say it's a central nervous system of news, although would you? Because a nervous system sends things out.
I don't know. It feels
Is
like a
is
good
there
metaphor. It
is there
doesn't.
an uncentral nervous system? Is that redundant to say it's
Mm,
central?
I don't know. That would be like some kind of Bitcoin thing. Wouldn't it be some kind of
Yes.
autonomous? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I don't
I, I
know.
I think
Are there any? Yeah.
I think you're right that if we just had the blockchain and the human nervous system, things would be a little
I don't
bit
know. You're
more
reminding me of
more
like maybe like
volatile.
a worm or something, like an animal or insect that can
Yeah.
be
Mhm.
divided and can continue on. So they're built-in
Yeah.
redundancy. So I guess there must be something like that. Yeah.
You've got the finger worm, I think, famously. Yep, that makes sense. Well, anyways, it looks like everyone's favorite crazy boss, Elon Musk, is trying to pull out of buying it, and I don't know what I mean. Is there anything I mean, we're saying stuff. I always love it in the political gab fest where they're like, "Why are we even talking about it?" And they should just be like, "Well, we are talking about it, so let's not like pretend like we're virtuous or something." But it is, is it just, do you have some take other than it just being crazy, Brandon?
Well, my
Is there
only
any other thing here?
I don't know, like, there's been so many things written about it, and this is, of course, like, this is the Matt Levine Super Bowl. Like, if you're not reading Matt Levine's, coverage
That's
of this,
true.
then you're not living it, because I was like, this I mean, he is like in fact, I read other newsletters that are quoting his newsletter, like I'm quoting him in the podcast, so I'm like, he is the true source of all information on this. But the only original thought, and I don't even know, because there's so many podcasts talking about it, so I'm sure someone else has done it, is like, the only true cost, I guess, the only way to penalize Elon Musk, I think, in any meaningful way is to kind of go back to like, what is the source of kind of like his power? And I think this is sort of something we've talked off and on about, like, valuation of companies and like in sort of multiples. So like, as we always say, like that one definition that's really simple is like a valuation of companies is just really like the numbers of the current company, the revenue of the current company, times some story, right? Gives you
Mhm.
kind of the valuation of it. And you can tell lots of stories. And so Elon Musk has mastered this ability. Like he has this power about like him being attached to something and his ability to kind of tell a story about it generates an enormous valuation for his companies. And mostly I'm talking about Tesla. I know less about SpaceX. So, and that's really the source of his power, right? He's at sometimes he's the richest person in the world, depending on the day of the stock price. But that really is what drives all of his influence. And once you get to be that rich, you can kind of just do anything, right? There are kind of no rules, right? Like anything can be litigated, any decision can be questioned, and virtually, I won't say any, but like a lot of unusual behavior can be justified, right? Because you're sort of like
Mhm.
you're wrapped in this kind of story that you tell that I'm a mad scientist, I'm a genius. Like I treat people a certain way, and you need to just get over it because I'm a genius, and you have to just account for that, right? So out of this whole Twitter thing, I just wonder, I guess to me, is sort of like, has his sort of myth making ability been exposed? Because like a long time, like many stock traders have always said like Tesla is overvalued. Not that Tesla is a bad company, just meaning that like its valuation is so high that it would be hard for any company to justify what this thing is going to do. Like you'd have to
Yeah.
electrify the whole world, right? But most of those people that have had that position have gotten crushed in the stock market because the stock continues to do really, really well. And so I guess I just wonder, that's like my only kind of original thought there is just like, is this kind of moment where like you kind of see behind the scenes in his behavior with Twitter, like he doesn't really seem to have a plan for like if he did own the company, how he would grow it significantly. He seems to just kind of change his mind really quickly. His responses are probably at best like juvenile, right? At worst, you could say they're kind of like
Mhm.
almost like,
Mhm.
you know, actually actively destroying value of this asset he's trying to create. And it's like, and I think that's just a weird, an interesting concept, because I don't think he's the kind of person, he's not going to be able to see like, when have I gone too far? When am I really damaging my storytelling brand? It's really, and the reason you would know that is that people start to like really judge Tesla and his other investments by much more traditional financial metrics. And they're not going to give him like this massive valuation, right? They're going to say like, hey, we really think you should be valued like Ford or like, Chevrolet or something like
Mm.
that. So that's the part I really wonder. Or will this just sort of like, it doesn't matter. He has such a big following and so many people have bought off on the story that they'll just be like, everything he does with Twitter, they'll just kind of justify and be like, he was a genius. He was a genius to get out of the deal. And there's always like, and they come up with some other grand plan. No, he had this plan to expose the bots and something even more crazy. I don't think any of that's true, but I just think that's the other side of that. So that's the part I'm looking at is like, does the myth making, right? Kind of like an inverse of the halo effect. Does he take a hit from that? And if he does, that may affect what he does going forward. What do you think?
Yeah. That's interesting. Like, I guess I would think. I mean, it'll be easy to tell us in the coming years, but I would assume that if you are some sort of like other large financial investing sort of entity, unless you're equally crazy, you would be like, well, I'm never going to do something with that guy because it's like genius or crazy or whatever. It's just too much risk, too much variability, and I don't know enough what's going on to get involved in it. And on the other hand, it was interesting reading through the people who had put up money with him to buy Twitter. I think your friends Andreessen Horowitz were on there,
Yeah.
and
Yep,
then
sure.
mysterious. I don't know if it's mysteriously is the wrong word, but sort of like surprisingly, Larry Ellison with $1 billion
Yep. $1 billion
also
in
in
there.
there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like I don't know. I mean, if you're like an investment banker or like one of the big banks or like all these other people, like the next time he wants to do something crazy. Like it'd be interesting to go to not Matt Ray Diallo, but the actual Ray Diallo and be like, so do you want to do a deal with Elon? And he would probably give you some long answer which amounted to no. Right. Like it seems like or just your classic like older like rich people who are doing things, or like you could take a Bill Gates type, or like all these people, like would they be interested in working with this person? Because it seems a little like crazy, like
Well,
a
to your
little
point there, I
off
think
the.
he definitely has given permission for any type of future kind of hostile takeover, which I think we'll say this sort of, if you will, unsolicited bid for a company. I think Twitter was really put in an awkward position because it was sort of offered up what seemed to be a pretty rich value, and people are like, and a lot of people, and Matt Levine again citing him, like they're just saying it's like Elon Musk doesn't seem serious, but like the number was, it's like the terms were so good, and they didn't seem to have a way to like really, they didn't seem to want to, nor did they seem to have an easy way to kind of push back on it. So I think they probably, that board of directors probably felt like this is maybe not like getting in business with this person may not be a good idea, but we don't really have any other options. And I think now that he's done this, he has given any potential company in the future, 100%, validity to just blow him off. To say like, if he says tomorrow he walks in, I'm going to pay 100 times what your company is worth, and I want to do it. I think that company can say it's like you're not trustworthy, we can't do business with you, and we can't take you seriously. And I think most investors would probably begrudgingly say, yeah, it makes sense. Whereas this last time, so he's kind of played that card, I guess it maybe
Right, right,
but to
right.
your point, like, I mean, he'd have to like, I think any type of getting those kind of professional investors re-involved, I think he'd have to have a much stronger story about what he's going to do and how he's going to invest. And they'll have to really see, like, it'd have to win on the merits of the deal. Because I think he really won that funding on the merits of his storytelling this time. But I think going forward, people, at least, I don't know if the board of directors of future companies, I think will have a pretty easy way to say no. And I don't think people will fault them for it. So it will be
Right, right.
interesting to see what happens.
Like if you look at the other businesses, what has he got? He's got the rocket company, car
Yeah.
company, and then
SpaceX,
a
Tesla,
tunnel company or something, and
yeah,
like
Boring
and
Company, right?
And so, like, if Tesla was trying to arrange like buying or some merger with like Ford or GM or Renault or all these people, they would probably be like, I don't think so, right? Like,
Right.
unless they were in like a really bad situation, they'd be like, this is not going to go well. Like, whatever's going to happen, not cool. Or if like they wanted to buy like Boeing or Raytheon or like all these other like rocket Northrop or whatever, all these like other rocket related and satellite companies, they would probably also be like, no, I'm good, we're cool, like we don't really we don't want that. And then I don't know who digs tunnels, like Bechtel, I don't even know who tunnel diggers
we,
are.
we don't know whoever that is.
Is Bechtel still a company? Who
I don't
remember
know.
there were two contractors. This is such a long time ago that no one remembers. But remember during the first Gulf War, there were all these major global construction companies that were part of like the Illuminati global squid who would go in and build like a Burger King for $5 million in like Iraq or something. Like I forget the name of all these companies, but they were big. At some point, I think one of them owned Blackwater, like the mercenary company. But
Hmm.
I'll have to go look them up. Good
All right, well,
stuff.
listen, one final take on this because I think hopefully is original, but like I actually think most of this is setting up for like a much more interesting competition that's about to happen here, and it comes down to the Ford Lightning. So for our
Mm,
certainly for our international listeners, like here in the United States, pickup trucks are very popular, and for the most part, like people drive pickup trucks even though they don't work in construction or actually use the pickup truck. The reasons why is a subject for a whole nother episode. Cote will be doing an hour-long episode on that. But just take my word for you that like pickups are really popular. Those are and it's and they're sold. And the F-150 is sort of like an iconic American pickup that's either the best selling or one of the best selling cars all the time. So this coming year, they have already announced, and like I guess I read an article, it was in the show notes a couple weeks ago, about the first one was delivered to an actual customer. So the first one went out. So
mm,
my the thing going forward I think is really interesting is like, okay, if they're actually able to Ford being is actually able to deliver what is basically a very similar F-150, but only with an electric engine. So it isn't trying to like take on and do everything new. It's kind of the incremental version, right? If they're actually able to deliver this car at scale and price it, in some reasonable range of what, the current pickup trucks ship at, I think that will be like the true test of the Tesla kind of, if you will, myth
mm,
making. It's like, if at least here in the United States, I'm just because I don't know if it's going other places, is like if that becomes like the truck people want to drive, and that's sort of the entryway, if you will. And you can almost like, it's like kind of like we talk a lot about technology, about sometimes a company starts a trend but never doesn't realize it. So it's like Tesla sort of made electric cars cool here in the United States, but maybe Ford is the one to be like, we'll deliver it at scale and we'll give you kind of an electric truck that's very familiar to you, but it has all these great electric benefits. Like, to me, that'll be the real test of Tesla, right? We'll be like, because I think
mm,
if it starts to hold its own against Tesla, then it's kind of back to our myth making. It's like, well, then Tesla starts to just look like maybe a really good car company, but just a car company. And it's like, it's not all that unique. Right. And I think that'll be the moment that you're going to see like Elon Musk really tested. But of course, there's a lot of ifs in there. It's like maybe Ford doesn't deliver it at scale, or maybe just like the thing just doesn't work. It's not a viable competitor. But if he encounters true viable competition, what happens? And I'll give you one analogy I was thinking about would be TiVo versus the generic DVRs. TiVo to this day, I still think is the best DVR interface I have ever actually used. And it's funny enough, it was one of the first I actually used
mm,
when I first got exposed to DVRs. But for whatever reason, they just could never make it work. They could never find a business model. And, all the cable companies delivered something that was not as good, but good enough. And, it just, poor TiVo, it sort of never became really, if you will, what it could have become. And so, like, will Tesla be that? Will it be the company that kind of sort of popularized it, or will it go on to become the company that really reap the benefits? So, like, to me, that's the real competition that's setting up. And all this Twitter stuff is just kind of a sideline to like that income, if you will, the pending competition from the Ford F-150.
mm. Yeah, yeah. I think there's a theory in there that is the kind of almost the inversion of the innovator's dilemma, which is like for as you were, it's the opposite, right? Where like you have a high flying, like super featureful, super expensive, brand new startup entry, right? Whether it's like a Tesla or other analogies, and then the incumbents come in and they just make kind of like a 2/3 is good thing at basically a cheaper price, like and so I mean and it's hard for the innovators dilemma thing because it's not supposed to be the big companies who like come in with the cheaper lower feature thing. I don't know, like there's something it's almost like first mover gets all the glory and the slow laggards get all the cash is how that tends to sort out.
All right. It's good. All right. We'll wait and see. Let's see what happens on Twitter. And if you're looking for some type of disruption, if you're looking for a way to secure yourself, Cote, who am I going to recommend? Have you been paying attention? I'm going to recommend our
Uh,
good friends over at Teleport.
Teleport. That's
That's where
right.
everybody should go visit. And of course, send them your friends. Tell them your friends that's offered to find talk. We did
This
talk
is
about. We can talk. Go ahead.
this is another thing about driving in Europe I want to note
Mhm.
is just like,
There are no pickup trucks.
well, yeah, there's that. There's that. There's actually some pickup truck aficionado in the neighborhood. So we see old trucks every now and then and other things, but that's kind of fun. But like it's just like, I don't know, just have bigger parking spots. Like you're not fooling anyone. We know what you're doing. It's okay. You can just like, especially if you've got like a lot of parking spaces, there'll be some parking garages I go into and it's just like tiny. And you're like, okay, that's fine. Right. Like
Right.
I get it. You're trying to
You had the
maximize it.
space though. It's like
But then
use the space.
even if I go to a large parking lot or a large parking garage and it's just like, come on, man. Like just make it like I don't know what a centimeter is, but make it like half a meter. Do something. Figure it out. Like you don't really have to be so parsimonious with it. It's not that big of a deal. But
Yeah, we got like a car. We have like a good audience here for cars. Hyundai. People saying we should check out the Hyundai. That's another one. Maybe that's the one that takes it on. So maybe I'm too fixated on the F-150 here. So
yeah.
well,
Well, I
I
think
don't know. That would be
I think
your most American thing to do is to get a Ford
to
F-150.
get a
Weren't
Ford.
you saying you're trying to get a car, another car? You have a
Yeah,
car,
yeah.
right? Are you trying to buy another
I
one?
do, but I need one that will fit 6 people. That's kind of what I
Mm,
want, right? Because like
is that
now we
minivan
have
territory? Do they have minivans in Europe?
sort of, but you can get
You
like
can't do a Suburban in Europe. That's probably not even available, right?
no, they don't really. You can get like the equivalent of like like an Explorer that has like the third row of seats. You got to get one of those cars with the third row of seats. Like you can get the Volvo XC90 and equivalent.
Yeah,
Like
I've seen that. I
it's
know some people.
kind of like a
I've been in
Tahoe.
one. Nice, surprisingly big.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
All right, all right. We're done with ads. So good work on your hosting skills there. So just take us out, man. Whatever you want to do. Two
We
more.
just we just need one extra seat. That's all we need. One extra
Why
seat.
six? How many? Your family's five? Is it five?
Well,
And so you need.
because like so there's two scenarios. One, so my mother is in town for a while, right? And if we want to go on a trip with her, we got to rent another car. So that's absurd,
Okay.
right? And then also, like if we wanted as a family to go on a trip and we wanted to bring one of our kids' friends, that doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It just seems like I guess it's one of those things where like if you max out the capacity of something that you have, you start to want more capacity
Right.
because
Well, I
you're
guess
like,
six is the upper limit, right? Because eight probably gets you into like a van or something, like into like some type of
yeah,
like six is
if
as big as you can go and stay within like the consumer car market.
I mean, you could have, in theory, you could have 8, right? If you have a third row, in
Mhm.
theory, you could put 3 people back there, but it's
Mm.
probably 2 people you're going to put back there. So you
So you're going
could
to go
have,
what 2, 4, 3? Is that how you're getting to
yeah,
eight?
no. You would have 2 in the front,
Uh-huh.
3 in the
2, 3,
middle,
3.
and 2 in the
Uh-huh.
back, right? That's 7.
Okay, so
I
that's
think is
7. Okay.
is what you could fit there,
All
and
right.
I
So
think you can also have a middle, but
oof.
it would be too small.
Mm.
And then you'd have to get a luggage rack to put all your stuff on.
I don't know. I think this is one of those like re-architecture things. Like I think size of family, you can't easily be changed. Like, it's
I've got to
like I
modernize
mean,
the
yeah,
estate.
like you're gonna have to like rethink like yeah, the family. It's too big. It's like you got a monolith there. You got to break this into like you're gonna have to get
True.
some drivers. Like that's you have to like Cormac's got to get a little older. Kim's maybe second car, right? Second car is maybe where you're going. Don't go second car 8. Just get a
Yeah,
second car and
yeah.
then take 2 cars.
I think
That'd
you're
be
right though.
my.
I should get a Suburban. I would be the talk of the town. They'd be like, "Have you seen that person with the Suburban?
That's like an interesting.
Where
What
do
is
they
the
park
biggest
it?"
consumer car sold in Europe? That like a
Hmm.
person, not like a tour bus, but like like
Yeah, yeah.
a regular 5-person family
Hmm.
in. So I mean, you
There.
should just look around the street. Like if you just go down, there must be somebody with a
Well,
5-person family on the street.
it's
Be like, what
the
do they do?
yeah. I mean, they have those cars we were talking about. But there's also, if you really, I think the biggest one that's normal is, I don't know. Does Mercedes still make it? Mercedes has that really big, boxy,
Yeah, Sprinter van kind
like
of thing.
no, not a Sprinter van. It's like I forget
Oh,
what it's called, but it's like another.
G wagon. Jeez, that's
It's
not that.
It's almost
Mhm.
like a Land Rover, like the biggest Land
Yeah, it's a
Rover.
G-Wagon, I think. It's like
Yeah,
150K or something, right? Yeah, I know what you're
yeah.
talking
So
about.
I don't see those very much, but
I think it's
those
pretty
are around every
expensive,
now and then.
right? I think Cote, is this what you're talking about? Here, put it. I'm putting in this in the G-Class SUV,
Let's see.
aka the G-Wagon.
Why won't this open? Stupid internet.
Buy a G-Wagon. That'd be great. I would
G
just
class.
just
Yeah,
like,
yeah. That would
all
be
right, well,
awesome.
let me know what it costs retails for in Europe. Well, the dollar's euro's down, dollar's up, so maybe now's the time. Get in there.
Look at that guy.
Yeah,
That'd be
I
fun.
like it.
Ooh, and those sunroofs. Ooh, I could get red leather. Truly spacious. What is it? Truly spacious. Truly special. Welcome to the great indoors. Huh.
Get it. That's what is I mean, I think it's like I'm trying to look here. It's expensive last time I looked. So,
Yeah. That's going to cost a lot.
but it's nice. Mm. All right, let's keep
Yep.
going.
Okay.
We got whatever you want. No more ads, so we can just go as long as you want.
Let me go back to our topic list here. How much longer do we have? We're recording. Okay.
Probably like 20, 25 minutes.
Yep. Yep. All right. Well, there's two more things I wanted to go over this week, Brandon. One, I saw that some is this in Chicago, some or some office building, you can use your Apple Wallet to get in and out of the building. Like I think it's required.
That's the
What's
first
the?
one. It's the first people to take advantage of basically the electronic corporate ID. As far as I know, it's the first one that's, and I'm kind of jealous. I like it. What do you think?
I think it's the way of the future. I think that's what it's all for. It's just these little things, and I think that kind of thing is a great example of how, we were talking in our previous segment about how, there's all this flashy stuff going on, and then just a boring thing comes up and kind of makes some money for it. But I think this is a good example of like whenever there's like an interesting, exciting new technology, what people don't appreciate, or maybe people do, but like I think the volume of benefit that you get is that when you look at some very boring, normal aspects of life and you figure out how to eliminate or make those better, right? And so, like, you know, it is kind of futuristic to think that like I can open this with my phone or whatever, or things like that. But if you were thinking about like I've got the internet in my pocket and we've got the metaverse and all these things, like just saying like, what if I told you that I could put your employee badge on your phone? You would be like, we're not choosing to invest in that at this moment. We don't really like the team that you have,
I
and I
would
don't
listen.
feel.
Speak for yourself. I love this stuff. I'm like, yeah. Let me. Where do I sign up? I want a full allocation of your IPO. But go
But
on.
I think maybe I should start emphasizing this in my little executive dinners. Is I think perhaps the entire world of people who do things with computers. I just want to throw this out there. I suggest we take a 3 to 5 year break and we just convert all cards over to like digital wallet stuff. Just like let's just focus on that, right? Like I think we can get McKinsey or Bain or whoever in here, and I think we can do some pretty compelling spreadsheets that it will not only give tremendous ROI on the investments, but I think it might even advance humanity. We might even have a GDP affecting sort of thing. Although does GDP take into account productivity? I guess it sort of does. But I don't think what GDP takes into relaxing, right? Like GDP doesn't really show that like
Leisure time.
yeah, like if you spend money on leisure time, it takes that into account. But if it's just sort of like, and this is there should be another phrase, some variant of productivity, which means productivity, but I don't work more, right? Like it's not
Right.
that I am able to accomplish more, and so therefore I do more and make more money. It's that now I work less because
Right, but
I'm
I think
more
the
productive.
economists, to defend, I think what they would say is that is then reflected in your leisure spend, right? Like you're like
Ah,
maybe
yes, yes.
maybe you're like watching some streaming. So all of your activities, even if when you're not working, you're doing something, and that's usually consuming some type of service or
Yeah.
wealth or spending money on something else. Like I'm buying
I
ice
guess that's
cream,
true.
I'm
I
going
guess
on
that's true.
vacation, I'm traveling on the Autobahn, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Buying a G Wagon or whatever. Now
It's
my
true.
my my concern would be that I guess if I was in the economist camp, I could say that sleeping more increases GDP if it's also coupled with advertising that convinces you should therefore spend more money on your bed and your bed
Right,
setting, right?
mattresses, yeah, for sure, so
But you don't actually need to do that. So maybe sleeping more decreases GDP. This is something we should probably look into. Anyways, I think that maybe on a 3 to 5 year global plan, if we just digitized all this stuff onto phones, and of course we can have paper alternatives. That's fine. It's always going to have that.
right, gotta have some
But
legacy. You always have to have your support the legacy. I'm sure everyone sort of made the joke about like, what about the Android people? Well, the Android people clearly still have a physical plastic card,
sure,
right? I
sure.
mean,
Or
that's,
if you're using this whatever this wacky nothing new phone is, I know that's Android. You could use that too. The glyphs will light up and let you into an office or whatever. But I think we could just take a break from whatever it is we're doing, and every single organization go back on Monday and just be like, all right, what's the plan? Like what do we need to do? Do we have to work with partners, or is this something we need to do ourselves? Let's digitize
well, it
this.
did in the
No
press
more
release. They put
keys, no
in
more badges, whatever it may be.
In the press release, they put in a nice little note that HID Global, which is the company I've kind of followed. Anyway, they do a lot of physical security. Basically, they're the ones that build the readers, a lot of the badge readers and stuff for this. So the fact that they're involved is a nice omen, right? It's sort of getting the point of sale terminals involved in like Apple Pay and stuff. It's like until that group of people is on board and starts to build it into the actual, point of sale terminals, or in this case, the badge readers, it's not going to happen. So the fact that they're already on board and they're doing it, and I'm sure they're incentivized too, right? They want everyone to upgrade their badging
Oh,
systems.
sure.
So
Got to buy
it
everything new.
feels, but let me ask you a quick question though. It's like Apple Pay, which is kind of a little bit analogous to this. It's like, okay, I don't know how it is in Europe. So if you walk up and you're going to pay electronically, right? And so here in the United States, I often am faced with the following choice. I can use my phone, my Apple Watch, or I can just take my plastic credit card and just touch it, basically just touch it to the point of terminal, do the NFC thing and have it read it and pay. What I found is, and I say this as a total Apple proponent. What I found is like, it's actually the credit card is still the best because it's in my hand and I can just like literally slap it right on the screen and I can just kind of like move it a little bit until it gives me a little buzz that I've paid. I still find that to be faster than like either the phone or the watch, because the watch is always kind of like I have to flip my wrist over and it's always kind of weird, right? So I still would say I'm still often, even though it's contactless, I still find the credit card to be the fastest way to, like, if you will, do the contactless payment. So I'd like you to contrast that with what's going on in Europe. Have they figured that out too?
I think the watch is just complete bullshit. I mean, it's just like the whole, one going down there, and I know you press the side button to get the things up. It's just like it doesn't work. Like I don't know. It just like the scenario I always imagine is like, let's say it's 8:30 a.m. at the King's Cross station tube stop in London, and like it's full of people who are going super fast. Am I going to stop and fiddle around with my watch and like use that to get into the tube? No way, right? Like I'm going to get run over, and like some British people are going to yell at me, which is just like, you don't want that. Like it's one thing to have like Dutch and Germans and Continentals yelling at you because you can just be like, that's adorable. But like the British yelling at you, you've done something wrong. Like something's not working out. So the watch doesn't work. Now, the credit card, I hear what you're saying, but I would have to get my wallet out and then get my credit card out and then pull it up there. Whereas, like, now, granted, I do have to get my phone out, but I feel like
Right, but
getting the phone out.
that's like muscle memory. That's the fastest thing you can
Right,
probably
right,
do, right? And it's
exactly,
super
and
fast.
and so also at this point, and with Face ID, it's what really makes it possible. If you did have to enter your passcode in, like when you're wearing a mask, that kind of does kill the buzz there. But like, yeah, like you pull it up, look at your face, and double click the thing, and then you're done, right? Like, and it's
Well, I
super
guess you got to answer
fast.
the question there. I guess I should just go look at the train station or the tube, whatever, where, and just like watch a whole bunch of people. If people are, if everyone's doing it with I guess you would want to do a little count of like iPhones to, I guess is it still the Oyster card? I don't know. Can you
Yeah,
still
yeah,
get
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Oyster card versus your watch. And what you're saying is like less than 10% of the people are doing watch.
Right, and then also you can have a paper thing still, right? Like if you're
Sure, but that's like
Oyster card.
last resort. Nobody wants that. Like you're
Yeah,
clearly like something has happened. Something
and
has gone
then
wrong in your
and then
day.
for our Texas listeners who don't travel a lot, they haven't experienced this, but I don't know what they do in Android land. I assume it's the same. But like also what you can set up your phone to have what they call like this transit option where like you don't all you have to do is hold your phone against the thing. You don't even have to authorize it. Right? So like
Oh, even better.
it knows I don't know how that works or
It's like a
whatever.
trusted. I get it though. It's like you do some type of trusted kind of
Yeah,
connection,
yeah.
right? And there's
And
probably
and
some
then and then
encryption behind the scenes. Uh-huh.
and you even like set the default credit card or whatever that you use and it just like works super fast. And so that like in that situation like that's ultimately the fastest, right? And that works quite well. But also like after almost 4 years of using like paying with my phone for everything, I mean I don't really, it's totally out of the ordinary for me to ever use a card to pay for anything. Like it's also just super fast. Like it's not, I don't even think about it. Whereas it would be fun to pay with the watch, but it's just so weird and awkward. And
Well,
it
I
would
think part of
almost
it.
it would almost be better if the watch was a necklace and you just like held the necklace thing up to pay with it than it being on your wrist.
Well, my theory about this is HID or the point of sale terminals, what they haven't done is adjusted, if you will, the placement of the reader for like the watch. It's
Mm.
still, if they were to like, if you will, imagine like a boom arm, like was just like at like, height that it was very easy for you to just hold your
Oh
wrist under
yeah.
it and like hit the thing. It would be a lot easier, but they're still kind of in the, it's almost, I guess it comes back to like literally signing a receipt, right? Like, even though no one, I mean, most of the time you don't have to do that, but like, it's like on a desk because it's anticipating you have to write. Whereas like, no, it's like I'm trying to touch it. It would actually be better if it was in front of me rather than kind
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
below me. So if someone that figures that out, that says like, oh, here's the way that it's actually even more convenient to hold your wrist out because then you don't even have to get the phone out, right? You just like you're literally it's a very natural movement, almost like shaking hands, putting it out, letting it scan. And I would say like the place if you want to see this in action, go to Disney and watch people use the magic
Oh yeah,
bands,
yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
magic bands are just sort of like people scanning those things all over the place. So it's out there, right? I mean, it can be done, but that would, again, we need our friends at HID Global and others to be like, oh, they're gonna have to hire somebody, some ergonomics person is gonna come in and be like,
You
yeah,
know
no,
that
you got to
I
fix
I saw
this.
I saw that Johnny Ives ended his official relationship with
Yes,
Apple. Maybe he's
correct.
going to HDI because that I'm telling you, solving this problem it would be massive for the history of humanity, right? Like if we just like, I mean, just think of the printing press, right? You just be like, so what you're telling me is you have this machine that like puts ink on a piece of paper, big fucking deal, right? Like whatever. Whereas I think it's that scale of thing where like, so I don't have to carry around a bunch of shit in my pocket anymore.
So I'm
Hmm.
gonna go one. I'm gonna throw out an example of the potential fame that a designer could come up with. I don't know, Cote. Like, is this? Have you heard of Norman doors? Is that something that you've been exposed to in like design without thinking? Have you
No,
ever heard of
is,
this?
is is that
So
like the Normans of old?
it is just the name of the person who what they did was they just put if you will a plaque, right, like a silver plaque on the door that you push rather than a handle, because that signifies to the person, like if you put a handle on
Ah,
it,
yes.
and there used to be like there are handles on all the doors, and it's like, and then you kind of have to pull the door and then you'd be like, oh, it's a push door, right? And you just, it's not
Oh,
obvious.
nice.
So the revolution, and this is gets used all the time in like design, like anytime a designer is like giving an example of great design, they'll just say something. It's like, and see, the genius is literally it's just like usually a silver plaque that's just literally screwed into the door. There's nothing else to it. But they didn't say that that's the cognitive
Yeah, yeah.
signal push, right? And then once you start to get used to that, then if it's a handle, it's a pull, right? So anyway, this is an example that gets used many, many, many times. And so somebody out there could do the same thing for payment by watch. They're like, oh, it's this, and they can use their own name. It could be like, oh, it's the Cote boom or whatever it is. And it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
see. Because I see this, I know I can pay with my watch, and I know it's very natural to do it and faster. So hopefully some great designer, maybe he's on Johnny Ive's team, right? Maybe he's like he's just coming in, he's trying to figure out how to make his breakthrough. He or she could work on that. That would be fantastic.
I mean, it's a good reminder that someone had to invent the doorknob. At some point, it did not exist. and it had to come around there. Well, so speaking of invention, the other thing that, just as a slight note, we love our monitoring and systems management. I see that a company, Incident.io, they got a boatload of funding to support basically doing incident management in Slack. Now, I watched their demo. They also have a web UI where you can see the history and kind of manage incidents, like troubleshooting things. And I think the demo is pretty nice. Like, I was suspicious. I was like, what's going on here? But like, it looks like I don't know what's going on in Slack, but it looks like there's basically a whatever people call it nowadays, an SDK where you can do all sorts of workflows and screens and stuff like that. And yeah, sure, it makes sense. An incident happens, you start up a Slack channel, and you start typing stuff. You can cut and paste things, and I guess you get a record of it. Now, my only question, I'm not an analyst anymore, so I don't study this market closely, is I thought, and I don't say this in a disparaging way, because I'm trying not to be so cynical about life and existence, even though I think it's well established that they're very warranted in being cynical about life and existence. But I'm trying to buck a trend. It's now, isn't this like what Chat Ops was like 5 years ago? Like, this is kind of like a Kote Kubernetes thing, where like I thought Chat Ops already did this,
Yeah, no, I think it is.
and
I
it
think
was
the
just like a
entire I would love to hear the origin story, because I think it's just because this is, and like the requirement side of this, or the product management side of this is like, well, turns out we built a lot of different products that kind of enabled this kind of real-time communications, and still everyone's just using Slack. Like, no one really logs into our product. They just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's kind of like how email, I would call this the equivalent of like, there are a lot of ways to do document collaboration, yet a lot of people still just send the email attachment and you just send it around and just kind of like, add your initials to the end. And it's like, yeah, but it's like, so I think I mean, they really are sort of like just being like, well, let's just meet the customers where they are. Everyone's just using Slack anyway. Why
I think,
fight
yeah,
it?
yeah,
Let's just throw it in there. And of course, it's good and bad. It's like, well, if you had a purpose built tool for this, and everyone used it, it would be better. But that's also like saying, if you knew, it's like anything. It's like, yeah, but that's a huge if. Most people don't want to learn any new tools, so it's like, let's just make it as good as we can in Slack, and that's the best we can possibly do. That seems to be almost like an
yeah.
admission of this company, is like, people are not willing to do something different, so we just have to meet them in Slack.
It did. I mean, the demo was only 9 minutes, but it did seem well thought out and well designed. I was like, I wish I had an incident to solve. Maybe the incident I could solve is got to get gas for the car,
This
and
is
I can document that. But it looked like it would be fun to use. It was kind of enjoyable. Like, but it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, yeah, just do it where people are. Like, I had occasion, and I think successfully I've finally done it after just 3 months. But I had occasion to, requisition some new service that I needed at work, and so I got to use. And I have to say, I tried to also get our beloved Fireside set up, but I've got stuck at the security audit, unfortunately. So that it just
Libsyn, here
and
you come. Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I got through the privacy audit, and I got through this other thing to get a new vendor onboarded, but just like I hit the security thing, and that's not going to work out. So not because it's not secure. It's just like there's a big spreadsheet to fill out, and I don't want our friend Dan to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but I don't even know which software it is in this chain of doing things, but at some point towards the end, right as you're about to achieve victory in the procurement game, you get sent this email. It's this weird Kafka-esque thing where you're approving your own request, but you get sent this email that says approve this requisition request. And there's a button in the email, and you click on it, and it generates another email that basically is the approval email. And it has this little comment. It has two blank lines and a comment, and it says the equivalent of like, you do not need to write anything unless there's a comment. So you click on the button, and all you have to do is send that email, and then it kicks off the chain. And this is the second time I've had occasion to do that, and I'm just like, this is perfect. This is what we have been working for all these years, right? Like, we reached some apex back in a garden or a misty nothingness of the pre-time, and then we ate an apple, or we learned about suffering or something, and now we finally arrived back at enlightenment, where we can just click something in an email, click send the email, and life goes on. So hopefully that's what they're working on here, because I think that's what we want. just low stress. Fill it
Well, I
up.
do wonder, going forward is this it's kind of an old product now, but Remedy, the old Remedy action request system, which started as a help desk system, and then people were like, oh, I can just start, do all kinds of stuff in here. It's like maybe this is where Slack goes, right? Inside of Salesforce. It's like, yeah, we just want to have all these kind of real-time interactions, these little like kind of workflow-based things. And instead of building purpose-built tools, just kind of integrate them into Slack. Of course, I think the Slack people would like that. So it'd be, I don't know, it'd be fun to watch. And, it seems obvious if this one's successful, it'll be acquired by Salesforce or Slack or, kind of the
Or do like
combination.
ServiceNow or someone.
Yeah.
ServiceNow is still around, right? They
Yeah.
must be
Oh yeah.
still
They're
around.
still doing well. They're
Yeah.
kind of doing it. So I don't know. Incident.io. So I like it's a simple story though. It's like, yeah, why not just meet the users where they are in Slack? And we shall see. We shall see if it works out for them.
So here I've got one parting thought for the entrepreneurial people out there. Now they're in the demo. You're in the Slack channel, and they're like, "Oh," and then we noticed something in our dashboard, and there's a screenshot of some dashboards. So you still got monitoring going on. That's fine. I don't know if it's observability or logs or monitoring. I didn't delve that much in to see the semantics of it. But there's some dashboard screenshot they put in there, which is fine to do that. And I would imagine, taking a screenshot of a dashboard is a great way to do things. And I think the thing that we need to introduce to people, I've mentioned this several times before, is someone should come up with a service that will take a screenshot of a chart and do pixel counting so that you can get precise numbers around that chart, which I think you're going to need if this idea takes off and you're screenshotting, you definitely want to do that. If you're screenshotting a bunch of charts, you're going to want to have something you right click and convert numbers to it. I need to go get the front door. So there's a
right.
good.
Well, that'll be
We'll
take a quick break.
Yes.
Screen share. Yes, that's what we need. Screen sharding. Does anyone in the Slack actually have an electric car? That's what is anyone actually, other than a Tesla? How was it? I'm asking everyone in the, I was trying to see if anyone in the chat actually had an electric car that wasn't a Tesla.
Oh yes, yeah. We have
I do think screen sharding. I don't know. You may have coined something that has some. Maybe you should get the URL quickly. Maybe you should get the trademark application in before.
We need an app to do chart counting on charts. Yeah, we have a nephew in from Costa Rica, and I think he ran out of data on his SIM card, and so he was a little lost coming home, but he's fine.
Right.
Boy, that's a nightmare. Getting SIM cards globally. What a mess. That's after we solve this this cardless thing. That's the next thing we need to solve. Is just like, that whole multi-regional cell phone business. No.
There just needs to be one system.
Just humanity needs to convene together. I don't know if it's at the UN or the G50 or whatever, and they just need to be like, nope, big pass.
Guys, we're working on that. They should just have what is it, like a G9? We're just gonna work on small problems today. It's gonna be SIM cards, card access, and it's gonna be bank transfers. That's the entire agenda.
Think that those three things would revolutionize the way
it'd be tangible. A lot of us would feel good. All right, hey, listen, we can pick up I'm gonna cut it right before you say I got to go get the door. So just sort of I think you had a nice break there. So
just let me pull it together. You'd be
no, take your time. I'm just prepping you.
It'd be imagine the following: you open up your phone, and you tap your phone on something like to transfer some money, and also, no matter where you are in the world, you can not only just tap your phone to transfer money, you can also bring up your ID to prove who you are if you need to do that. But not only that, you could transfer money anywhere in the world without having to worry about it. And also, are you worried that you may be out of your region and data roaming is not available, so you can't do any of this? Not a problem. It's all perfectly fine. We would just like, at that point, I think that's beyond crypto. Like that's the next stage after
It's
Bitcoin.
digital nirvana right there. You just, I mean,
Yeah.
it was like, I mean, I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, if there was effortless, no cost money transfers across the world, like probably Bitcoin wouldn't need to exist. Like just people just it wouldn't matter, right? And you would also have to have you just you don't want I guess you could put up with 3G everywhere. You need at
It
least
would be like maybe some economist or somebody should do some kind of dissertation on that. Like, what benefits are like immediately realized if there is truly the ability to move money in the world instantaneously to any country? Like, what,
yeah,
like, I don't know. It does kind of feel like it unlocks, like, it's one of those things. It's like, it's like maybe someone who built the internet at the beginning. It's like, we're gonna network these computers together. It's gonna be a huge benefit. And people are like, I don't see it. But like, here we are, like however many years later, and it's like all this stuff has happened. It's like it's probably some kind of like something like that happens. It's like, wow, anyone can get
yeah.
money anywhere in the world instantly, and like bang, like suddenly all these things we didn't even think about happen. So
Yeah,
I like
they
it.
would be like, why would I need to send what you call an electronic mail when I could just pick up the phone and call someone? And then person from the future would be like, how long do you have? Because I have so many reasons why you
Yeah,
would
no,
want to.
I think you're right. I think it would be the same. Like a lot of businesses, you think would like the friction of payment going away would enable. It'd probably be hard to imagine the amount of things it would enable. So I like it.
All right, all right. Well, one last thing to close out on the incident.io. When I was reading through the press release, it looks like there is some venture fund. I don't even remember what their actual name is. It doesn't really matter because they're nom de guerre, because their nickname is the chain smokers. And if you go look at their site, it actually does say chain smokers, and I think that's the name of one of their funds, and they have some other funds that's like cutting the habit and things like that. So I feel like there maybe is nearing an Elon Musk level of nonsense when it comes to naming their funds and doing things. So go look that up. Go read about incident.io. Find out who some of their funders are, their investors, and look up who these chain smokers are. Kind of figure out what their deal is. See if there's someone that you might want to have invest in you when you're trying to be cardless. Things like that. Now, with that, Brandon, do we have any bureaucracy this episode?
Just a few things. We sent some stickers out this week, so I want to quickly thank our friends Bart. I think in Pennsylvania. I sent him he tripped me up again. It was a U.S. address, but it had another 4 lines. I actually thought it was wrong. I emailed him. He's like, nope, believe it or not, here's what it is. So sent him 4 stickers. Glad to hear. He also recommends the Terminal List on Amazon Prime. So if you're looking for something to watch, you should check that out. And I also sent stickers to Robert in Illinois. And of course, if you would like a sticker, all you have to do is send your postal address to stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com, and I will be happy to send you a sticker anywhere in the world.
Well, there's as always conferences. We have our friends at that conference in Wisconsin Wisconsin. I bet that's one of those words that you can tell where someone's from based on how they pronounced it. A highly regional word, Wisconsin versus Wisconsin. I don't know. Anyways, July 25th. There's a discount code to get $50 and $25 off, depending on what you want. If you go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/367, you can find that. There's also DevOps Days LA happening, where Scale, as always, will be as well. And I'm going to be at giving one of the keynote talks at. I guess you can have more than one keynote talk, but whatever. One of the talks at DevOps Days Dallas, which I think is August 24th and 25th. I don't know. Go search for DevOps Days DFW, and you can find that. And then the week after, I'll be around VMware Explore, which you may remember as VMworld. They renamed it. And that's going to be August 29th to September 1st. We've got our Spring One platform coming up in December. And another that conference in Texas. There's a call for papers that's going to be January 16th. Now, I'm sure there's many other conferences out there, but those are the ones we have written down in the show notes to go over, as I have done. Now, with that, Brandon, what do you have to recommend this episode?
Well, Cote, I have a dream. I've achieved a minor dream of mine. My family, they put together for a variety of occasions. They kind of combined, and they gave me GE Profile Opal ice maker. So I now have either nugget ice or pellet ice, depending on what you want. I now have an unlimited supply of this ice at home,
Mm,
and I gotta say it's fantastic. It's as good as I
mm,
dreamed. So I will just say that I love this gift. I think it's fantastic. It was very generous of the family to do it, but like it really doesn't stand up to any type of ROI analysis. It's like this thing was expensive, and it really and I explained it to people, like especially people that don't like either don't care about nugget ice or don't have or never experienced. They're like, so it makes ice. I'm like, yeah, it does, and it's great.
mm.
Um, so if for some reason you feel like treating yourself to something, and you are someone that loves like the nugget ice, the ice you get at Sonic here in Texas, and you want to have it at home, I highly recommend the GE Profile Opal ice machine.
I have several thoughts related to this, Brandon. One, you receive this as a gift. That's a fantastic gift. Very thoughtful. Two, I think you're reminding me, and I've thought about what you said here quite a lot since you said it. Is it's very similar to when you try to talk to people about an air fry oven. They're like, "Can't you just use a convection oven?" Right? Like I feel like it's a similar thing where you're just like, "Hmm, I don't know if we should not talk about this further. This conversation is going to go nowhere." And third, I haven't checked recently, but I still think these are not available in Europe, which is quite
Oh,
a
I'm
bummer.
sorry. Yeah,
I think
that's
you can
tragic.
special order it from some company in the UK, and I don't know. I consider sometimes bringing one of these back with me, but I'll have to think about that.
I
And
guess in Europe it would probably be even more specialized because there's just ice in Europe is generally, I don't know, it's just a lot less, right? So it's like, yeah, people would.
yeah,
I think people would probably be really confused if you saw because they would be like ice. You'd probably have to start with like why you're putting ice in your drinks over there.
yeah.
So
The only thing more scarce than ice around here are napkins, and then the most scarce thing is free ketchup. If you want free
oh
ketchup, you're fucked.
yeah.
That just like you better bring 50 cents because that's what you're going to be paying. Pay 50 cents to pee and 50 cents for ketchup. That's pretty much the baseline there. Now, my fourth thought is that this brings to mind, like, we've talked a lot about economics this episode, and I think there's a missing cell in every ROI spreadsheet, which is called, it's a binary state. It's yes or no, 0 or 1, red or green. And that column, that cell is called I have the thing, right? Like, and I think your ROI analysis here is a victim of you know the lack of I have the thing analysis, which is like at some point an ROI analysis no longer makes sense because you've reached an ROI cul-de-sac, right? Like what's happened is like you no longer have purchased this good or service or investment with the expectation that you will generate more cash from it. Instead, you're just like, no, this is post ROI. This is like actually the thing that I have done all this work for, and now I have achieved it, right? And so, like, even if there is no ROI on the pellet ice machine, you're sitting there with your big cup of pellet ice, and you're like, now I have it, right? And ROI achieved. The return on investment is possession of the thing that I desired. And I think that is often not thought about. Now, you can't really apply that analysis to enterprise software, I guess. But it's always important to consider that. Now, my recommendation this week is a podcast called the History of the Netherlands podcast. I don't often listen to these types of podcasts, but I started listening to this one, and it's very good. It's made by some Australian person who has lived here for a while. They actually did. I looked them up, and they worked on one of the light installations for the annual light shows they do here in Amsterdam, and it's a great podcast. It goes all the way back to the Ice Age, and the person's kind of funny. It's a good show if you want to learn the history of it, and obviously, in listening to it, you learn a lot about European history as well, particularly Northern European history. But you should check that out if you enjoy podcasts and Australians who sound like they smoke 3 packs a day, kind of making little jokes about things. Boy, this person who does it, he manages to make a joke about plows and things like that. So really, really good at making puns about things that you would not expect. So with that, speaking of things you would not expect, this is the end of the episode of Software Defined Talk. If you want to get the show notes for this episode, You can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/367, or you can just go to softwaredefinedtalk.com and you can join our Slack channel. Always lots going on there. We discuss things throughout the week. You can figure out how to get stickers or just browse the entire back catalog. I always recommend, if you have some spare time, you should go there and download each of the 367 episodes 5 times each. The newer ones, it's good to download thousands of times because those are the ones that we pay more attention to. But get your friends, your kids, iPod devices, whatever it is they're using, their podcatchers, computers, just set them up to auto download the new episodes that come out. And if you want to listen to them, I don't really care. That doesn't matter. It's just the downloading that matters. With that, we'll see everyone next time. Bye-bye.
All right, another fine episode, Kote. Well done. Well done.
Yourself too, Brandon. Always a professional.
All right, I'm trying to think here. All right, well, thanks for everyone in the stream chat. Had some good commentary here. I like it. It turns out, I guess, someone says the ice maker's endorsed by Ice T. Seems right. Seems like a natural endorsement. Like, just call up Ice T. Hey, we're gonna give you some money. You're gonna like an ice maker. Like, what? I mean, I wonder how that went. Like, sure, whatever. Yeah. What do you want me to say? Ice.
He's
Never had ice
like,
this cold, right?
He's probably like, I already got 5 of them, homie.
Yeah.
I don't think he says homie though. Have I gone over that? I'm trying to get Alejandra to call her friends homies, and she just refuses to do it. She's like, they're not my homies.
What is she just call them friends? I was gonna say, is there like an equivalent Dutch word or something, or is it just
yeah, I don't know. She just says friends.
I don't know if you saw it. Like I wasn't you. I didn't want to reckon your stream of consciousness, but Cormac did quite a long TikTok dance in the behind
I
you.
Saw it.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if you could. So there was some. It was good. It was actually quite funny, but I wasn't sure. I didn't know if you could see it but I felt like it was like, I think we both went into like parent mode. It's like, just don't acknowledge it. It'll go away. If you say anything, it'll go on longer. So just like that was.
Yep.
So anyway, hopefully that's okay. He seemed like he had. I don't know which one that was, but he seemed like he did it well.
Oh, look, ubuy.co.nl. They might have this ice maker. You also get the OXO Good Grips Flexible Ice Scoop. Do I need to invest in that, Brandon?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one I have came with a little ice scoop, but like I'm sure you can use it many type of ice
availability out of stock.
It would be. This would be something. I think it would be the ultimate kind of thing to have in Europe because it would be very unusual in Europe. I think, right? Like it seems like this, like because there's still is it no ice in the drinks unless you ask in the Netherlands. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little here and there. It's more like it's not quite that bad, but it's more that in the home, I think it's rare to have ice. I had a big long discussion with someone recently, and they were like, "I don't believe that," and thankfully there was like some European people sitting next to me, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we have ice," and I was like, "No, that's not what I'm saying." So and I had to be like, "Let me start here in the States." It is very hard to buy a refrigerator that does not have an ice maker.
Yeah, you have to kind of like go out of your way. Yeah.
And then they were like, "Oh, right, yes, we what do you mean an ice maker and a refrigerator?" And I was like, "Exactly. Yeah, that's my point. Is it's just not like no. I mean, obviously there's ice here, but it's more like industrial ice, and it's a third example of what you're talking about. Is like, the answer is like, yeah. I mean, we have ice. You don't have an ice tray. I think someone actually said that to me. They were like, "You don't have an ice tray," and I was like, I don't have time for that in my life. Like I know what the future is. I know what it's like. Well,
that's like the one thing
so much that I don't want an ice tray. I just don't want. I don't care. No ice.
I know, but like, it's like we can hang our hat. That's the one thing they say. It's like, yeah, you got that instant payment, but we got ice machines. So there you go. There you have it. We're winning on that one. Like, yeah, we got ice machines over here. And you can just walk up and get ice anytime you want. It's just always available. We even got ice in different formats. We got like, we got entire teams like creating ice in different like cube structures, and we love it. We
have ice in the home or edge ice.
Yeah, take that out. You have all that public transportation in Europe, and yeah, that's fine. But we got different kinds of ice.
I'm gonna be chewing on an ice cube back here in my F-150 on the highway.
That's right. That's right. I'm drinking a big soda. All right. Thanks for everyone that hung in on the stream. It'll be up to Kote and Matt to stream next week, so it could be at a different time. I don't know. I'm sure Kote and Matt will come up with some convenient time for them. So check in with them next week. And then until next time, what does Kote say? I guess we should say not only should you download all the episodes, you should watch this video on YouTube like 8 million times. That would also be helpful. So until then, we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.